Welcome Internet to Aaron Plays. In this episode I will be continuing my exploration of Space Infantry by Lock and Load Publishing. This is the original 2011 edition and not the Kickstarter that came out quite recently. I want to do a deep exploration into the rules before I actually start doing a learning mission. First episode of the series I looked at an overview of the game, but now I'm going to go into a bit more depth on the rules. There is a handy on the back of the rule set quick reference guide which takes you through step by step what's going on. The rules that originally came in the box were a bit vague in places. However, there is a living set of rules which on my first video I will put a link onto, and I will put another link to the rules on there. The reason I'm doing this is because I do like this game and I find it quite enjoyable, but I'm not prepared to invest in the new Kickstarter. I say new, it's been out probably about 2 years and it's getting quite hard to source in Europe. Whereas this one I picked up quite relatively cheaply on eBay, and yeah, I think it was about £13 with postage. I can't recommend it enough. The gameplay is fast, straightforward. Once you manage to get through the opaqueness of some of the rules in the rule book in the box. So let's have a look at one of the mission cards, an enemy force, and then some of our actual potential squads pieces. This is a mission card. There's various bits of information on here. First one at the top here is the start place. That's where our actual squad will start from. There's a mission briefing here, which will tell you what the actual objective behind the mission is. And here, in this top corner, any special rules that will apply to this particular scenario or mission, as they like to verse it. Here we have the various routes that our squad can go through, and these boxes are called nodes. Each one of these nodes has got two lots of information. The top part is what is necessary to actually advance from the previous place into that node. These are successes that are required and the skill that's going to be tested. This one here being scout, and you need 2 successes to be able to advance from the start position into the actual node here. Then once you're here, you could go one of the 2 routes. So to go into this one, you need 2 advance successes before you can actually enter that node, and so on. So then you do 4 advances to go there. Here you need to be able to climb. So again, 2 successes to climb. The other information on these nodes is the likelihood of having an event, which in most of the scenarios is encountering an enemy. The number on the actual node is detecting or giving the likelihood of an encounter. So when you draw a random number, 6 or higher, and numbers are from 0 to 6, you'll actually get an encounter. So it's not likely. Okay, and then the various codes here will tell you that there's a type enemy and there's a +1 modifier to whatever that is. This one here is telling me specifically it's something that's turret, which is probably the special equipment which it says, yeah, heavy weapons turret. So on a 4 or higher, I will be taking shots from the turret. Auto means there's automatically going to be an encounter with whatever the S is on here. Okay, so various That there is the heavy weapons turret itself, so probably this mission is to knock out the actual turret. I haven't looked at this mission in too much detail. The other information on here are specials. So you've got objectives, they're highlighted. So you've got like a code that tells you, and you get here a bonus to experience points, which mainly applies if you're playing the campaign. This here is denoting that you will get a grenade cache, so you'll pick up potentially some extra grenades. And there are a total of 8 of these in the box, and depending on which enemy you have, the actual encounters will change, because each enemy has its own sheet here, which we'll go through in a moment. So going back on this here, where you need certain skills to progress, not all units have that particular skill. So your squad is made up of 110 points worth of units. And there's these guys. You get a fire team, for example. He costs 20 points. And he's got 3 skills on him: fire, melee, and advance. These here denote his wounds, and that's his name, Fire Team B. If he gets promoted, which normally happens in a campaign, or you could purchase him initially as a veteran, it'll cost 30 points. This symbol here denotes that he's a veteran, and these numbers are the same. 3, 4, 3. The only difference there being +1 AP. He gets an extra action point, which I'll explain soon. So what do these numbers actually represent? They represent the likelihood of actually generating a success. The lower the number, the better. When it comes to generating successes, we use a random number draw. Now, in the count, you draw a counter out of a bag. The amount of counters in the bag, there are 1 to 6 3 times, so that's 18 counters. There is 1 0 and there's 1 plus. When you draw a 0, that counts as a 0. When you draw the plus, you're allowed to draw 2 other counters and you add them together. So that's how you can get a score over 6. So if I wanted to, say, move from this box here to this box here, I need to generate 2 successes with advance. So this guy, I would then draw a random number check. He's got the skill of advance. If I drew a 1 or a 2, nothing happens. I don't generate a success. 3, 4, or 5, I generate 1 success. And at 6, I'd actually generate 2. So it's whatever number I draw divided by that rounded down, which is the amount of successes I get. So looking at him, he's got advance 3. Let's turn that back over to the base side. I've got an assault team. They've got advance 3 as well. But my squad leader has none of those. He has command, communication, and intelligence. Whereas my 0G teams, they don't have advance, they have 0G. So on this map, he'd be pretty pointless. He's got nothing that can advance me around the board. So how do I get the scouts? Well, that's where you have things like specialists. So it's trying to find one that has the word scout. There we go. Explorer. Notice the difference in colour. Okay, that means a specialist. These are the standard units in the squad. So he's got Scout 3. And he's probably the only person that can get me from there to there. If I don't have the scout in the team, well, one, I didn't plan my actual squad very well, because I know I need scout. That's part of the planning, the system. I look at the nodes that are on here. I think, okay, well, I'm going to need scout to get me through that box. So let's have someone with scout. I'm also going to need someone with climb. Oh, he comes with climb as well. So that's useful. Advanced, most of my guys can got. Fire, on the lower one here. Yeah, well, most of my guys can fire. Intelligence. Well, that's what my leader's going to be useful for. So to get me through that box, I need intelligence. You always get the lead. Notice there's no actual cost on the squad leader. So he's actually free of charge. What else have we got? Demolitions. Well, this guy hasn't got demolitions. So to actually get through here, I need someone with demolitions. And one of the actual guys does have demolitions as a skill. So I'll have to bring along a demolitions expert as well. So I would develop a team of 110 points, and then I put the squad counter at the top there, and then I go through the actual turns. There are a total of 30 turns in each game, each mission, unless it specifies elsewhere. So you put the start marker on here and you start counting down. If it ever reaches 0, you failed the actual mission. On here you also could track the resources. When you actually start a mission, you get 8 types of resource, or 8 resources. You can choose what composition you want. You can get things like medical packs, grenades, demolition packs, smoke, stim pack for fighting melee. I will be playing with the advanced rules, which use orders, which means the squad leader has a few more variables. When I'm actually playing the scenario, I will go through how the orders work and moving, and I'll be going in a lot more detail of each actual mission I'm doing, and also the orders and why I need to do certain things. And this is an enemy card. Got the enemy's name, nice little picture. This here is its range table. There's 2 ranges involved in the game. You've got fire range and you've got melee range. So melee is actually really fire. It's not necessarily fisticuffs and close range combat. It's fire is at long range to medium range, whereas melee is close range to point blank. This card's got 3 different types of enemy counters. You've got scouts, warriors, and queen. These numbers here are their skills. So this has got a skill 4 in melee and a skill 5 of 5. So it's not so good in firing. So I'd probably want to be at fire range against these guys, whereas they'd want to be in melee range. Same here. Melee is good on the warrior. These here denotes how many wounds they've got. This symbol here notes that it's got armor. So ideally, I'd like to stay at long range here, but they would want to close against me because they're better at melee. Here, the Class A, Class B, and Class C denote what's actually on, my guys out the way, on these here. So where it says that's a Type A enemy, is there any more than Type A's on this particular? This one here's got a Type B. Well, if I was playing with this enemy on it, and it was an A, I would then draw a random number to see how many of that type of enemy I will be facing. Here, I'd determine how many of that type of enemy I'll be facing. If there was a Class C on there, on that type. So you draw a random number for, do you encounter enemies? You then draw a random number to see how many enemies, and then you actually draw a random number to see what range you're fighting them at, and then you enter the combat round and fight combat against them. I will go through combat in the next video. And you do this each turn. So the sequence is you select the mission, so we draw the mission card, you select units up to 110 points, you select resources up to 8 resources, then you start the operations phase. And the operations phase is you start turn 30, you go on to there. So you advance the turn marker, you generate command points for your leader. So that's his command rating there. He would draw a card, so going 1, 2, or 3, he'd give you no command points. 4, 5, or 6, he'd give you 1 command point. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and the only way you're going to get an 8 to get 2 command points is if you drew the plus, which would then give him, and then you draw higher than a 6 and a 2. Okay. Communication and intelligence. Well, you've seen there were skills on there that utilize those. I've only really played mission 1 and 2 so far, and they haven't come into it in effect as yet. Well, you generate command points, then you activate your units. So you then stand at a particular node, say, right, I need to do scouts. I test with my scouts to see how many successes I've got. He's the only one that's got scout, so I could be there for a while trying to get through into that box. Once I'm in there, then the following turn I can advance out. Then you check for events in your box. So say if I had advanced there, I would then determine if that event occurs. So I draw another random number, and if an event occurred, then I'd go to the enemy, and then I begin a combat sequence. And you keep repeating that until you win, or the scenario or the mission actually fails. So you've got a turn marker that will continue be counting down as you go along. And at the end, success or failure, if you're just playing a one-off game, then okay, you just then play another mission and away you go. If you're playing a campaign though, which I intend to do after doing one mission non-campaign, just to go through the rules in more detail as we're actually playing. This is just an overview, as I said. This will be the way I want to actually play it, is in campaign mode, because then your guys have victory points that they can actually promote and get better. So this +1 AP, what that actually means is when I generate a success, I don't know, 1 or a 2, I'll get a +1 on whatever I roll. So if you roll a 4, it becomes a 5, no use. But if I roll a 5, becomes +1 becomes a 6. I get 1 extra action point in melee. Whereas my fire team, I get +1 extra in the fire. So that's my quick overview of the rules. That's the quick overview. There's a lot of options that you've got. Let's say if you counter an enemy, I could throw a grenade. I could use the medical pack to cure wounds. My squad leader can give orders other than just boosting die rolls. He can, on the advanced orders, which I will go in detail because I'm going to play with advanced rules, but he can give orders such as intelligence, or he can do things like suppressive fire, or stealth mode, or take cover, and so on. So there's quite a few options whilst you're playing the game. Is it an in-depth tactical system? No, you're effectively on the map. You've got one counter, which is yourself, and then on the enemy board, if there is any enemies, you've got enemy counters as well. But it does tell a story as you're playing. You start to develop a narrative and attachments to team members as they do certain things and are successful and such forth. So it tells a story, and in a solo game, that's what you want. You want a story, a narrative. There are decisions to be made, and especially when you play the campaign, do you carry on when you're starting to take losses, or do you decide, you know what, I will pull back and recuperate? So, whereas when you're playing a one-off mission, normally you just push through until you're either all wiped out or you're successful. But when you're playing in a campaign, those decisions of do I stay or do I go become relevant. Anyway, until next time, Internet, I hope you enjoyed that. Yes, it was a bit rough and ready. I'm just trying out a new camera and angles and such forth, see how it looks. If you like what you're seeing, hit the like button. Please subscribe to the channel, be much appreciated. And as always, send me a comment, ask questions. That's what we're there for, so we can all learn together and yeah, pick this up. It's not bad price on eBay at the present moment. Until next time, all the best. Bye.